Hey Ian, how are you?
Hey, morning, Paul. How's it going?
Good. We are going to do this early edition of the Ian Cast on Thursday. We usually record this on Friday. Hope you're ready to go, even though it's one day early.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Always ready.
And that gives our team a chance to have a true 3 day weekend where they can actually get, because we've got to record like a other bunch of stuff that's out there. So, all right, let's go with the Ian Cast. Let's start with the stock market. And I thought that one of the things you mentioned to me this week about the BXN rising, I thought that was pretty interesting. Now, I have my own thoughts about this, but I want to hear what you think about what's going on and explain to folks what you're saying.
Yeah. So first of all, the VXN is an index. It's not like a stock that you can buy, but it measures the expected volatility of the Nasdaq, which is mostly tech stocks. So how it measures that is by measuring the amount of demand for out of the money put options. So people hedging their portfolios will buy these when they think that maybe there is some downside risk ahead. And this is again specifically for the Nasdaq. There's also the VIX, which is for the S&P 500, but specifically the VXN has been going up recently. And there's been quite a surge, obviously, in the past few months of a lot of tech stocks. They've gone up like hundreds of percent this year alone. While the S&P 500 is just now making new highs, it's been by far the strongest area of the market. So I think people, are starting to kind of put some hedges on their portfolios because, I mean, anytime stocks go up in a straight line like this for like 6 months, basically it's, there's going to be some profit taking at some point. I think people are anticipating that. And of course, the election coming up, whenever there's a big election, there's some uncertainty risk around that. So, the expiration dates for the VXN that are in October are the highest, and then it levels off after the election. So that's really the two main reasons that I see for this happening. I don't think there's going to be, a stock market crash or anything. I just think there could be like some flattening out in some areas, maybe profit taking, but that's pretty much it.
Well, there's also additional demand and supply things going on through the NASDAQ as well, which is that uh, the biggest stock in the NASDAQ, Apple, has split, changing the buy and sell dynamics of who will come to buy and sell it. And generally speaking, widely transmitted events like a split are generally buy on the rumor, sell on the news type
Right.
situation. So many people will anticipate that, and the effect on the NASDAQ is going to be significant if demand for Apple stock starts to fall off significantly. And then add on to it that Tesla, which is in the NASDAQ, however, not in the S&P 500, that has gone up. I covered this on the Profits Unlimited update this week. Tesla is up over 1,000% over the last 12 months.
Yeah.
And it's up 560%, I believe, year to date. I cannot remember offhand what it is since the bottom, which was on March 18th. I believe it's in the 800%. So I've told people on the Profits Unlimited update is completely normal, completely within the realm of what you should expect for
Yeah.
you to see significant volatility in Tesla, given that that's a straight line up essentially since
Yeah.
March. Well, I mean, probably like last 2 months. And then in addition to that, Tesla is doing pretty sensible things. They're actually selling stock. I mean, at $430 billion, I believe, is the market capitalization. This is a company that was worth less than $100 billion just last year, Ian.
Yeah.
And so if you've got significant gains, obviously you can go sell your stock. However, the other thing that you can do is you can hedge your portfolio by buying out of the money puts on an index like the NASDAQ, which is a lot more liquid, perhaps, than trying to get the protection on Tesla stock itself through the
Right.
option market, or maybe even Apple itself. So people who have a lot of large gains or are trying to lock in their gains for come year end, which is a very common thing to do. And yes, people will do it as early as the third quarter because their bonuses and compensation are all dictated by what that year end number is. And if you're up 100%, 200%, whatever, 300%, you'll want to lock it in. And as you mentioned, there's events coming up that people are concerned about. I'm getting emails about the election. And so people will certainly hedge, sell, and do some of these things ahead of time in the stocks that have been rising.
Yep, exactly. So yeah, like you said, another point with the buying a put on the NASDAQ versus individual stocks is the NASDAQ is obviously a bunch of stocks, so you don't need as much of a downside move there. And what that means is basically the implied volatility has a lot to do with option prices. And the VXN is the implied volatility on the NASDAQ. So the implied volatility, if that's 30%, that's essentially the annualized move from now until whenever that option expires. So maybe with the NASDAQ, I was looking at this actually last Friday, and it was around 25%. Now it's a little bit higher, but the implied volatility for Apple was like 70%, and Tesla was over 100%. So you're also getting a way better deal by buying puts on the NASDAQ than you would be. You don't need nearly as big of a move in the NASDAQ as you would in Apple or Tesla to make a profit.
Yeah, and if some of what we're saying sounds like Greek, well, this is Ian runs two phenomenal, incredible option services, Rapid Profit Trader, Rebound Profit Trader. And I would say that we caught that rising wave in both of these services pretty much since March. I forget what the streaks are in each of these services. However, all the things that we're talking about, implied volatility, come from that. What were our streaks in Rapid Profit Trader?
Yeah, so Rapid Profit Trader, I know there was a loss recently, so we did finally take one, but I think we're 30-1 is the streak now, and I think Rebound is 29-0 in like a 29 winning streak.
Right. I mean, and just understand that this was into the heart of the crash that required obviously to come in somewhere near the bottom, and then there were plenty of stocks that were definitely not participating early on, and so
Right.
you definitely have to have a certain viewpoint of what part of the market is going to get bid up first. So phenomenal job, Ian. And so if what we're talking about sounds like Greek, because we're using the option market now to sort of anticipate a little bit what is likely to happen in the stock market. And everyone, please, I am still bullish, optimistic, positive.
Right.
And I actually believe, Ian, that some of this will be far smoother than what might be implied by this, because largely we're talking about 8-10 stocks that have driven the NASDAQ 100 up for sure. NASDAQ Composite has every single stock that trades on the NASDAQ exchange. And there are a lot of smaller stocks in there where we're seeing as well in a number of our services, we can see a lot of those stocks rising. I mean, for example, Zoom Media that we're recording this on was up 41% yesterday, just by itself, was up 41% by itself. And their numbers are are insane. I mean, the growth is just ridiculous, really, for them.
Yeah, I mean, their estimates for their sales revenue in 2020 have tripled, I think, in the past 6 months. But yeah, that 40% gain was after the stock was already up like 1,000% or something.
Right, and after all that, the stock, I believe, is a $60 billion market capitalization, stock market value stock. So it's still pretty young. And I remember in the early days of the pandemic, when they first reported that their user base, the MAU, their monthly, I think it's MAU, their user base went from something like 20 million to 200 million. And that happened in the space of like 6 weeks, essentially.
Yeah, I know. It's insane. Like you never see a company. It was a complete binary event where one day everything was open, the next day everything was closed. So a bunch of people had to have web chat conferences. So Zoom, like overnight, got all these new subscribers, and their stock price has just been reflecting that ever since.
Well, and my point in bringing this up is that if Apple and Tesla and four stocks can carry the NASDAQ, well, you might see any number of other stocks really pick up the pace. And because there is rising utility of any number of new companies even as we open up, there's just new ways of doing business that have become now the norm.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And those are the ones that have been getting bid up for the most part. And then, the big ones like Apple, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, they've benefited from the indexes getting bought because they make up so much of that index. So, yeah.
Right. And many of them are representative of that shift in, that digital shift, this digital transition that the pandemic really accelerated and put a rocket, ship on. So either way, we've been telling people, look, there is nothing that says that markets need to rise every single day, every single week, every single minute or second. Yeah. There are always natural ups and downs. And anytime you have a big rise, exactly what Ian and I are saying. In other words, big sellers who have artificial time constraints, hedge funds, they are paid their bonuses and incentive fees based on 1231 numbers. So there's an artificial sort of ending point that can drive selling. And if these people are large sellers and they come in whatever way, whether to sell the stock, to sell Tesla, Apple, whatever, they are going to cause volatility. And so this is why we tell people to follow rules of the game. And that way you've got a portfolio, you can sit through anything that's going to happen. However, when we look out, even some months past all of this, and certainly 1, 3, 5 years out, everything is still very young in its development.
Yeah, I know a lot of these companies that have been going up this much haven't even been public for like 2 years yet. And they're extremely new. And, this is really just the beginning.
Yeah, and we've seen this distinct difference between America 1.0 companies and America 2.0 companies, where America 2.0 companies, you go look at the 52-week high list, it's just filled with those kinds of companies.
Right, exactly.
Those kind of companies. And some of the other companies are getting a bid here and there. Nonetheless, we are still bullish, optimistic, positive on America 2.0 companies. However, there is and there always will be volatility. However, we are not expecting a crash. We are not expecting anything. It's just that these indices that people base their some of their buying and selling decisions on are stuffed with a few companies that have risen a great deal, and is completely normal that people that have these large gains, especially in hedge funds, big institutions, are likely to come with some of their big positions. When they come, they will push prices down, and that is completely normal. And my guess, it will also, push off some of the more crazier traders that are out there.
Yep, agreed.
So speaking of how young this opportunity is in general, we've had a lot of chat about crypto.
Yeah.
And, this area is really flowering and really a little bit under the radar. And you've been pretty active using Compound. A friend of mine showed me another platform that started with an N. I can't remember what it was.
Not ringing a bell. I know there's Uniswap, Yearn Finance, Curve. There's a few, Aave, but I don't know any to begin with.
And tell folks a little bit, of what, you've been telling me about what you've been doing on Compound. So just, to show people what is emerging from this world. Just tell folks a little bit of, what you've done on Compound.
Yeah, so basically all of these new DeFi platforms, and DeFi is a really broad term, but right now it's mostly referring to, borrowing and lending on a decentralized network where banks aren't involved at all. You don't have to get approved for a loan. You don't have to sign all this paperwork, wait to hear back and things like that. You can just do it whenever you want. And it also gives you a much higher interest rate than whatever you get in a savings account. So what I did was using Compound, which is just this really basic website. It tells you what coins you can deposit, aka lend out, and what coins you can borrow. And it has right there on the website the rates at which you can lend and borrow. So I put some, the stable coin called USD Tether. I put that in there, and there's like a 3 or 4% interest rate on there. I just, I wanted to see how it worked, and I was curious. And whenever you use something, you gain a lot more knowledge just looking at it. So I did that, and it was incredibly easy. It's really, like Paul said, it's gone way under the radar. and I borrowed some Ethereum using the network as well. So basically, I took out a loan that I bypassed the banks with. So you can borrow Ethereum and sell it for USD Tether, USD Coin, which are basically the dollar version of crypto. And it's a good way to get a little bit of extra money. Of course, you have to deposit more money than you take out. It's called an over collateralized loan, but not to get too technical. I just thought it was a really cool thing to do, and a lot of people are using it now because it's way easier than the traditional loan market or the traditional borrowing market, and you can make, again, a way higher rate. You actually get an interest rate unlike most bank accounts at this point. So looking at the amount of money that's been deposited into these platforms is ridiculous. So it's gone from like $1 billion to $9 billion in the span of like a couple months, I believe. It's just really picked up fast, and the just the ease of use and everything. Oh, and another thing about Compound is when you do deposit money on there, you get, over time, you get some Compound tokens, which is their cryptocurrency, which is an investment in itself. So that's another benefit. By putting your money in there, you can actually earn part of the platform yourself, so you have a partial ownership in it. And of course, that crypto has been going up. So all in all, I think it's a really great idea, and I think that adoption is definitely going to get boosted. And anytime people are putting $9 billion into this stuff, it's not just like, I don't think it's just a fad. I think it's here to stay, and I think it's going to continue to grow.
100%. And just so people understand, I mean, many people will probably lack the depth of understanding you have about crypto. And what we're seeing is it started with Bitcoin, then Ethereum came, and Ethereum is the cause of the flowering of all of this. In other words, the Ethereum currency now has more than 2,000 projects on it, whatever, and now each of those projects are becoming sizable, which is putting pressure on the Ethereum currency to keep rising, and that in turn is going to as well cause more money just to push into crypto in general, which then a number of people looking to store that value in crypto will buy Bitcoin. They'll also buy Litecoin. They'll buy Bitcoin Cash. So any rise in activity across the board is very bullish, very optimistic, very positive for the continued rise of crypto, whether it be Bitcoin, Ethereum, and so many of these new currencies that have come about. And the other thing that you mentioned, which is that Compound is a platform, it's obviously a website, it's a service, and it's also a currency. This is a new feature of the crypto world, which is that there are any number of currencies that are there that represent a network, that represent a service, and they also represent a currency. And you are some mix of part owner, part user, part supplier. So this is a really interesting new way of doing business, new way of being in business. And one of the critical things is you can have your own coin represent you. And people, I believe, do you enter with Bitcoin? Do you have to put Bitcoin into Compound as your starting currency?
You can put Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Tether or a stable coin like that. There are a couple other small ones, but those are the main ones.
You cannot, suck money in from a bank account into Compound.
Right, correct.
Okay, so you need like a crypto. Anyway, our point with this is, of course, we're getting super into the weeds here on this. Nonetheless, the world of crypto is expanding like crazy, and while Bitcoin's price, everybody, certainly most folks, Bitcoin is probably the only coin they've ever heard of. They may have vaguely heard of Ethereum. Bitcoin's price is something around 11,300 today. We believe that it is going to hit a high of as much as 50K this year. I got a tweet from somebody that said, "Hey, Paul, that's unrealistic." So I went and did the math, Ian, from 3,800, which was the low, to 12,400, which is, just happened like a couple of weeks ago. So that's already a 4x move. We have that one more time. and
Yeah,
Bitcoin's at 50K.
exactly. Yeah, I
Yeah,
know. And again, if you look at, late 2017, it went from 6,000 to 20,000 in 5 weeks.
yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, it's more than triple in 5 weeks.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, we are very BOP, bullish, optimistic, positive on crypto. So, I mean, there's so much going on in this world, and ultimately, it's just going to lift the prices of pretty much all the cryptos that have some purpose, all the cryptos that also feed into this new kind of business model that's driven by crypto, where currency is part of the product and service.
exactly. Yeah, it's amazing. What the progress the entire crypto space has made just in the past few months.
Yeah, and so still bullish, optimistic on Bitcoin. Believe it can get to 50K and then to 100K, and then I believe next peak will be 250, somewhere in that range. And there's a lot of pretty smart folks like Tim Draper and others that are on board. And we did something last week or the week before about the Winklevoss twins, who own the Gemini exchange and that trades a lot of crypto. All right, so we've done stock market, Bitcoin. Tesla, well, there's still Tesla fever that's going on out there with the stock having done what it's done. I was on with a friend, an ex-colleague, and I asked him how he was doing. He said, well, I'd be doing better if I owned Tesla.
Yeah, I know. It's become kind of a meme at this point. I mean, 11, 12,000 or 1,200% rise from the bottom last May, where it was like 180 bucks. But yeah, now we're starting to see that, buy the news, sell the room, or buy the rumor, sell the news after the split. Long term, I don't think that Tesla is going to, go much slower. I think it's going to, be a great investment for years to come. They're doing so many things. They're unlike any other company in the world right now. And, they're only going to grow from here. So we saw a time where the market went from getting them absolutely wrong, getting them like as a car company thinking they were going to go bankrupt and criticizing them for spending money, which, ended up really benefiting them because that money was spent on, new factories, adding a lot of capacity because they knew the demand for their business was there. It's gone from that incorrect notion to seeing them as, the future of everything electric, which is more like what they actually are. Their electric vehicle business is dominating. They're coming out with the solar roof, and not only that with their vehicles, but they're also probably the most advanced self-driving technology on the road today. And yeah, again, their solar roof, their energy storage business with their batteries, it's pretty incredible what they've done.
Right. And in terms of news, they are raising $5 billion through the stock market, which I believe is right. It
Yep.
helps fund their growth. This is cheap equity. It allows them to put up more gigafactories faster, develop their battery business, develop their solar business, bring out the Cybertruck, bring out the Tesla Semi, increase production of the Model Y, all of which will increase the growth, which is good for the Tesla as a company. And just like, with the stock market, if there is volatility, no one should be surprised. This is a stock, as we mentioned earlier, that is up 1,000% in the space of 1 year. There are many people who have gone through their entire lives never having made enough money in the entire stock market by a factor of 1,000%. So people just be prepared for Tesla stock to go up and down rather than just think that, it can only go up in a straight line day after day after day.
Right. Exactly.
Right. And other than that, I think Battery Day is coming up pretty soon
Yeah, I think it's the 22nd, September 22nd.
and then, there will be stories that come out will make you believe that, Tesla's whatever, once again, slated for zero. The shorts will come out. We will just tell you, if you own it, especially in our service, we tell people to equal weight it, just chill and hold on to it. There will be some volatility. I'm sure more advanced traders might know how to take advantage of it. However, nonetheless, going out 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, we see Tesla as being significantly higher, and we are still bullish, optimistic, positive BOP on Tesla. Last one, cannabis, Ian.
Yeah.
I did see something very significant. There's a piece of legislation, federal legislation, that is going to be voted on cannabis.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, it's a big, really big event that seemed to like kind of come out of nowhere, even though everybody's been expecting, for a long time that it would be, dealt with on a federal level. But yeah, so there's a vote to deschedule it, which would take it off, out of the Schedule 1 category completely, which, I think would be a great thing for the marijuana industry. It's the first big step, taken to really legalize it on a federal level.
And this is one thing I thought about. If that actually went through and got approved by the Senate and President Trump signed it,
Yeah,
the stocks are not pricing this in any way, shape, or form.
no, they're really not.
Yeah, so
It's a lot of, these ones that are, do most of their business in Canada. A lot of them have expanded not only into the US, but worldwide, which has way, surpassed their Canadian sales. So the market for these stocks or for these companies is way bigger than what's being priced in, with US legalization. And, it's only a matter of time before it's legalized pretty much everywhere else. I think that the road ahead, like you said, has not been priced into these stocks at all.
right. And if federal legalization comes, you're going to see a wave of money come to want to bid these stocks higher. And these stocks thus far have received a small bid. However, there's still, if a large wave of money came in, you would see the same effect you saw in Tesla, which is money come out of wine, spirits, beer, and get poured into the cannabis sector. So we know that this has been a bit of a struggle trade for a bit. Nonetheless, if Tesla can go up 1,000% in a year or 560% in a few months, people can take some months' money, and it would take very little money to push these stocks higher.
Yeah, I mean, they still have sales growth too. I mean, a lot of them had to cut back their business, but their sales, I mean, they've hardly even had a dent put in them. So, I mean, despite all of the negativity and all the negative press and whatever about having to postpone construction of factories and production facilities, they're still growing. I mean, it's pretty remarkable that they've been able to get through this period without, seeing at least negative sales growth, much less bankruptcy. So the industry is very strong underlying fundamentals. And I think that, a huge rally is definitely in the works for this sector.
Plus, I saw some amazing numbers of the amount of sales that the state of Oregon has seen in cannabis, which is like a mind-blowing number through this year. And so this is going to, for sure, be a big sector in the future. And just to bring this Ian Cast to close, still bullish, optimistic on cannabis. And once again, reminder, we are doing this on Thursday. So if something comes out today on Thursday and it seems like we are missing it, it's because we recorded this on Thursday morning, but it's being put out on Friday, just to let everyone know. Trying to think if there's anything else we want to do in our roundup, Ian, or I think we've covered it.
I think we pretty much covered everything.
All right, Ian, you say goodbye first and I'll say goodbye next. Before that, I should say, remind everyone, please subscribe to our channel. Give this video a thumbs up if you like the Ian Cast. Give us any thoughts you have on anything that we said. All right, Ian, now's your chance to say goodbye.
All right, everybody. I hope everybody has an amazing long Labor Day weekend. And thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next week.
Same for me, and this is Paul saying bye.